If you grew up watching the Disney Channel, you know that Demi Lovato and the Jonas Brothers were basically everywhere. But what was really going on between them? Today, we are going to be doing a deep dive into the lore, the history, the drama of the Jonas Brothers and Demi Lovato, going all the way back to 2007 to present day in 2025. But first, I just want to say thank you. If you are watching this, thank you so much. My name is Molly. I make pop culture and pop music videos, from music reactions to deep dives like this one. This video is also in collaboration with friend and fellow creator Jake over at Secret Society. Make sure to go check out his channel and watch his video about the Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber lore. First, I thought it would make sense to give you a brief history on both Demi Lovato and the Jonas Brothers separately, and then we come together with Camp Rock, you know. Demetria Devon Lovato was born August 20th, 1992 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She grew up as the daughter of a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader and country music recording artist. Also a middle child of three sisters, which her older sister Dallas, obviously named after the Dallas Cowboys, and also her younger sister Madison. Growing up, Demi was thrust into the entertainment space. She started her own show business career by 10 years old when she became a series regular on Barney and Friends. And yes, this is when she also met Selena Gomez, which we're not going to get too deep into, but she is a kind of essential part of Disney Channel history, so she may be brought up a few times. She also did multiple other television appearances on shows like Just Jordan and Prison Break. But in 2007, Demi Lovato got her first role on the Disney Channel as Charlotte Adams on As the Bell Rings. Now, I don't know if you guys remember this show, but it was kind of played in between other shows. It was like 5 minutes long. It was like a little mini episode during commercial breaks. I just remember seeing Demi with her like straight hair side part with a acoustic guitar playing, and then she started singing, and of course at the time I didn't know who she was, but she started singing and I was like completely gagged. I was just so shocked at how good her voice was, and I was like, who is this girl? Like, why isn't she up there with, having her own show like Miley Cyrus? And I spoke a little too soon. When her time on As the Bell Rings ended, she auditioned for the Jonas Brothers show Jonas. She got turned down, and that was bad news for Demi, but Disney had a different plan for her. They booked her 2 more auditions, and she ended up getting her life changed what seemed like overnight. The Jonas Brothers were actually involved a little bit earlier than Demi Lovato, but they were coming up around the same time. Joseph Adam Jonas, Paul Kevin Jonas II, and Nicholas Jerry Jonas grew up in a musical family with a strong Christian value base in a quiet area of New Jersey. Nick, the youngest of 3 in the band, began performances on Broadway at just 6 years old, going on to then release a Christian-themed solo album at 10 years old. It's important to note that their father, Paul Jonas, was an Assembly of God minister, which is why religion was really prevalent in their household, which is why they moved around a lot. But whenever Joe and Kevin saw the success and attention that Nick was getting, not just from, higher ups, important people, but also girls, this led them to lean into what Nick was doing. They found out that they loved making music together, which then led them to form the band the Jonas Brothers. Kevin and Nick was on guitar, and Nick and Joe shared lead vocals. So although Nick was definitely the most talented in the beginning, and maybe still to this day, Joe had the confidence and just the spunk about him that made him the perfect lead singer. So around 2005, the Jonas Brothers got their first record deal, and they released their album, It's About Time, in 2006. And unfortunately, although I sometimes still go back to this album, the album went on to commercially flop, selling 62,000 copies due to the limited marketing push, and the label ended up dropping them, of course. Which I would love to see that label now, because they truly went on to just dominate the world. But the boys were devastated. They continued pushing through, writing their own music, performing at small shows and high schools. In early 2007, the Jonas Brothers were presented with an opportunity that they could not pass up. Disney's record label, Hollywood Records, saw potential in them. After they saw the success of Miley Cyrus, Hilary Duff, Ashley Tisdale, and more female pop stars that came from that machine, they knew that there was an audience, a niche that was available to tap into: a boy band. After signing with the label, the Jonas Brothers released a self-titled album on August 7th, 2007 that entered the charts at number 5 on Billboard and brought them their first big hit, SOS. They were just thrust into this Disney Channel machine, appearing regularly on the channel. They guest starred on a 2007 episode of Hannah Montana, which went on to be the most watched episode premiere of a Disney show of all time. I remember when that episode dropped because it truly changed my brain chemistry. But this was also major because on the side, and something that we don't have time to get into, but is important to note, is that during this time in 2006, 2007, Nick was secretly dating Miley Cyrus, who was the biggest pop star, teen idol of this time. The magazines were blowing up with speculation about them too, even though they tried to be pretty discreet about it. Most people kind of assumed or knew that they were an item. But of course, Disney had to cash in on this frenzy, so it just made sense to make the Jonas Brothers the opening act for the Hannah Montana Best of Both Worlds tour that kicked off in October of 2007. This tour boosted the Jonas Brothers into a new level of fame that they didn't even know was possible. Before we even get to the end of 2007 and into 2008, we need to back up because something else was brewing in the Disney Channel offices during this year. Both Demi Lovato and Joe Jonas were casted in an upcoming musical television film, Camp Rock. Because Disney Channel was rolling off the major success of High School Musical and Hannah Montana, they were finding that shows and movies that incorporated interesting pop music were hugely successful amongst their young audience. Because Hollywood Records and Disney had already signed the Jonas Brothers, the channel already had their eyes on Joe Jonas to star as the co-lead role of Shane Gray for the movie. As for Nick and Kevin, they weren't even initially involved in the film at all, but once Joe was cast in the role, the execs decided to add parts for Nick and Kevin, even though they were snubbed, and I truly think Nick and Kevin should have had bigger roles in Camp Rock. The character of Mitchie had to be someone that knew how to sing, act, and give a small dance audition.
You went in because you had to sing the duet with Demi's character. You had already laid down your part. But I went in with Joe, and I heard her voice, and I just had like goosebumps all over my arms. And I was like, I stepped out of the studio, and I called Disney. I was like, who is this girl?
The next obstacle that casting had to get over was ensuring that the chemistry between Joe and Demi was undeniable. They not only had to spend a lot of time together on screen performing, but they also had to convince the audience that their characters were falling in love with each other. It seemed almost instant, the director said, explaining that the only thing he did to help them come together was organize a few dinners with them. Filming took place that year in September and October of 2007, right before the Jonas Brothers were to go on the road with Miley Cyrus. As word got out that Joe Jonas had an on-screen romance with another up-and-coming Disney star, gossip magazines went wild. Rumors that Joe and Demi had this huge secret relationship started to spread. Because the Jonas Brothers were already pretty massive at this time, now Demi Lovato was kind of getting boosted up by the Jonas Brothers as well. But this came to no surprise. It didn't really seem to bother Demi and Joe that much. They would just turn it down. They would say, yeah, we're just friends. He's like a brother.
Did you have a crush on him like this whole time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, wait.
What?
Did you
This
guys fall in
moment, I
love here?
freaking fell in love with him.
This moment right here?
In real life and
In real life.
Okay, tight.
We had our first kiss on camera.
But because Demi was spending so much time with the Joe Bros, she even started working with them for her upcoming debut album, Don't Forget, while she was on the set of Camp Rock. The Jonas Brothers co-wrote a lot of the songs for this album. In early 2008, Demi went to LA for a photo shoot for 3 days. By the end of the week, she was getting ready for her upcoming album, was writing, and then was shipped out for 2 weeks to go on tour with the Jonas Brothers and write songs with them. Camp Rock premiered on the Disney Channel on June 20th, 2008, and of course, it went on to be a smash hit. It seemed like overnight, teens and kids everywhere were obsessed with the cast, especially the Jonas Brothers and Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato was now up there with Selena Gomez and Miley Cyrus as this like elite Disney group. The film was watched by 8.9 million viewers on the night of its premiere, and it's currently the third highest DCOM of all time behind High School Musical 2 and Wizards of Waverly Place, the movie. So Demi ended up joining the Jonas Brothers on tour that summer when they kicked off their Burnin' Up tour on July 4th, 2008. And when I tell you, I attended this tour and I remember it so vividly. It was the day before my birthday. Demi Lovato opened up. I wasn't even really sure who she was so much at the time. I was excited because she was just out on Camp Rock, but I wasn't like a huge fan like I am now. She opened up, and then Avril Lavigne came out, and then the Jonas Brothers came out. I mean, it was like truly, I was eating it up as like a 12-year-old girl. When that tour was over, similarly to what Disney had done with the Hannah Montana tour, they put out a concert film that Demi was also featured in. So you have to think like the press for Demi and the Jonas Brothers together was like at an all-time high. They were promoting this movie, they were on tour together, they were spending so much time together. So throughout 2008, the Jonas Brothers' careers were going at a fast pace, but so was Demi Lovato. Teen magazines, online blogs continued to speculate about Joe and Demi. Fans noticed that they would share onstage chemistry more than with the other brothers.
Not seeing anybody. I said even if you do like somebody, you probably won't turn out because you are just so busy. And even if you date someone that's also busy, it ends up just you're both busy, so it doesn't work. So I've got like years to worry about that.
I mean, this truly continued through for the next couple of years, while Joe and Demi would continue denying any romance involved in their relationship. From July to October in 2008, Joe was romantically linked with Taylor Swift, but this is actually how Taylor Swift and Selena Gomez became great friends, because at this time, Demi and Selena were so close, which also made sense because Selena was dating Nick. I know, it's like I need like a map that like connects all the dots with everyone. But because they were both dating a Jonas brother at the same time, Taylor and Selena, they just locked and became best friends, which then ultimately kind of took a hit to the Demi and Selena friendship. Demi finally released her album, Don't Forget, towards the end of 2008. When reflecting on this time, Nick Jonas had said, for a couple of years, there was the Joe and Demi romantic thing. So I'd be this emotional bridge for them. But she and I were productive. We'd write songs about it. We became even closer because it was never going to be romantic. It's kind of crazy to think that Demi was already writing songs about Joe before I even really thought that she was interested in him like that. Apparently, Nick and Demi were putting pen to paper about these feelings. 2009 continued to bring more busy schedules for both Demi and the Jonas Brothers. However, they were brought back together again in late 2009 to reprise their Camp Rock roles in the sequel, Camp Rock 2, The Final Jam. For a little over a month in September and October of 2009, they would be back to camp on set filming for Camp Rock 2. 2010 would turn into a year of complete chaos in the Jonas Brothers and Demi Lovato dynamic. When Make a Wave, a music video and song for Disney's Friends for Change, featured a smiley Joe Jonas and Demi Lovato running down the beach and playing with waves and sand, made waves, no pun intended, in February 2010, I'm not gonna lie, I remember being weirdly suspicious. Like maybe Jemmy was actually a thing. Although I rooted for Jemmy, which if you don't know, Jemmy is the couple name of Joe Jonas and Demi Lovato, I wasn't fully convinced that they had a romance going on. I knew Joe Jonas was a few years older than Demi, and it really did just seem platonic. But this music video had me rethinking the whole thing. They did some press for the song, went on to American Idol, and in March of 2010, Joe Jonas and Demi Lovato went on air with Ryan Seacrest and officially confirmed their relationship. The internet broke.
What about the reports that the two of you guys have evolved your friendship into a relationship? Is that true?
That is true. That's exactly true, actually. We've been best friends for the longest time, and now we're just kind of taking the next step, and it's been really fun, and we're having a great time.
When did it change, Demi?
I don't know. I think being best friends for a while, over time, feelings grow for me. As much as I wanted to deny it, the feelings are always there.
Was she fighting you?
No, I wasn't fighting.
Wait a minute.
It was. I think it like kind of shifted over like probably a month ago, but we both were. I think we've always kind of figured that one day it would happen, but we didn't feel like it was the right time.
The couple that we were waiting years to be together were. I mean, think about it. We had started rooting for them in 2007. And then 3 years later, they finally announced. It was kind of weird to me that at the time that they were kind of public about it. I had been so used to, anytime Disney stars were romantically involved, there was all this like secrecy about it. But they were pretty upfront about it. It was like peak young Hollywood dating era. This kind of happened at the same time that Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez's relationship was starting to dominate headlines. It felt like every Disney or teen pop star was connected in some way. My friend Jake from Secret Society is actually doing a huge deep dive right now into Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez's relationship. Make sure to go check out his video over there because it falls into the teen star drama that was happening around this time. It's going to be good. Anyway, just a few months later, both of them confirmed they were already split. They had done a cover and interview with Teen Vogue about their relationship and Camp Rock, and less than 48 hours after their interview, Joe and Demi decided, mutually Joe insists, that it was better to be friends. A few days later, they both agreed to talk to Teen Vogue separately about their breakup. It's kind of crazy how public they were about this. Joe tells Teen Vogue it could have been better timing, but there's never really a good time for something like that. I really care about her. When they had asked Demi if something was missing between them, she says no. And then if asked if that meant it was his decision to end things, she says, yeah. She later went on to tweet, there are so many crazy rumors flying around today. Joe and I did split, but it wasn't over the phone. Things didn't work out, but we'll remain friends. And I love that she had to clarify that it wasn't over the phone because just the year prior, Joe was getting so much heat because he supposedly broke up with Taylor Swift over a 15-second phone call. So of course she had to clarify that that did not happen. Joe gave a statement during this time to US Magazine saying, Demi and I knew going into our romantic relationship that it may not be an easy one. I realized over the time we have shared together that I feel I care more about our friendship right now. It was my choice to break up, but I do love her as a friend. She's been there for me when I needed her. I will continue to be her friend and be there for her. When reflecting on this relationship years later, Joe told Vulture that during their time together, he, quote, got to see what she was struggling with, referring to Demi's personal issues, and that he felt the need to take care of her, but at the time, I wasn't happy. In my opinion, I feel like Joe felt like he needed to be with her because of some of the pressures that were put on him to be with her, that he did it, he tried it out, and then it just didn't feel very organic to him. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But what's so sad about this is that they still had a whole press tour and actual tour to go on to promote Camp Rock 2. Because they had already filmed Camp Rock, they got together, and then this is all happening before Camp Rock 2 even premieres on the Disney Channel. 2010 was a hard year for Demi, and throughout her performances and appearances, whether she was with the Jonas Brothers or not, you could definitely tell her energy was changing. We would later find out that she was having a lot of mental health issues, substance abuse issues that would kind of play a role in some of the following events we're about to talk to. She's also made it very clear in interviews that the whole breakup with Jonas thing did not have anything to do with some of her health struggles. Their next tour together kicked off in August of 2010. It was a world tour that featured Demi's music, the Jonas Brothers music, and then also Camp Rock music. I mean, this was a huge selling point for young audiences during this time because what do you mean we're going to get to hear Jonas Brothers, Demi Lovato, and Camp Rock catalog? After a couple of months on the road, it was announced on November 1st that Demi had left the tour before it was even finished.
While we were on tour, Joe and Demi's relationship had become really complicated. So I was playing the bridge, and it became really good, between she and I for a while, and growing closer than we'd ever been. And I remember thinking in my head, I felt like a bit of pride about it, like selfishly maybe I was like, I'm helping her back into, coming back to being the Demi that we all know and love. She's not gonna do anything crazy, it's gonna be fine. And then this episode happened.
I'm about to beat this bitch up.
One night she went out with a group of people, and the next day she was confronted by some tour managers about her behavior the night before. A source told people that Demi thought that one of the dancers had snitched.
I remember going to Kevin Sr. and saying, listen, I want to thank whoever told on me because I know they were just worried about me. And I manipulated him into telling me who it was. And he said it was Shorty.
Nick Jonas had told Billboard about this time, quote, I thought we were going to get sued. I mean, it was bad. On top of losing a friend, we have 7 dates left. It's a big production. People are expecting to see Demi, and that's not going to happen. I was angry because a week before I pleaded with her to confide in me, we talked on the plane for 2 hours. In that same interview, Demi told Billboard, "I distanced myself as I was getting involved with self-destructive things. After treatment, I had to have some time sober before I wasn't embarrassed to talk to him. Nick says I sent text messages, but I don't remember it. The first time we saw each other since that tour was my 2012 Los Angeles concert at the Greek. We caught up right before the show, then performed. It was an emotional reunion. I got one of my best friends back." The following year would prove to be a hard year for Demi. She had gotten out of treatment, was putting on a brave face, released new music, told the world that she was seemingly completely better and was staying strong. Behind the scenes, we would later find out that she was still struggling with substance issues and body issues. However, at the 2011 MTV VMAs, fans were ecstatic when they saw Joe and Demi reunited for a picture, making it clear that there were no hard feelings. What wasn't so publicly focused on up until this point was the friendship that Nick and Demi had. I think the Demi focus of it all really had people focus on that relationship, but like mentioned before, they were collaborating all the time for Demi's first album. They were both the same age. They really had a lot of similar interests when it came to creating music and being in the limelight at such a young age. They could really understand each other. And that was coming to the forefront. By 2014, the dynamic between Demi and Nick had shifted from young friendship or young co stars in the Disney days to a more mature, supportive alliance, and then to creative partnership. 2014 was really the start of Nemi. Nemi is Nick Jonas and Demi. And I would even argue, though, way before 2014, there were sleuths online really shipping Nick and Demi. Even while Demi was dating Joe, it was like a whole internet thing. People were convinced that the real lovers were Nick and Demi. During this time, the Jonas Brothers had just recently announced that they were broken up. I will tell you, that was one of the hardest days of my life. I'm still a huge Jonas Brothers fan, but I remember hearing that news, going onto Twitter and just being so floored with sadness that my favorite boy band was breaking up. I couldn't believe it. I felt like it came out of like left field, but when you really look back at some of their interviews before they broke up, they were all so distant from each other. They didn't seem like they were really into it anymore. The music that they were trying to put out right before they broke up was honestly not very good, in my opinion. If you want to know, just listen to Pom Poms. Then in August at the Teen Choice Awards, Nick literally joined Demi on stage, drumming for her performance of Made in the USA. And this just kind of told the world that they have a strong, supportive, professional relationship and that we were kind of so fucking back. During this time, she was really making it clear that she sees Nick as family. That's important to note too for what we're about to get into, because even though in these early times of them rekindling their friendship in 2014 seemed very platonic, we're about to get into some mess. Nick was announced as creative director for Demi's Neon Lights tour, putting him in a major behind the scenes role. But their collaboration did not stop at touring. They wrote songs together. Demi revealed to MTV that they might even form a side project. She later recorded their second duet, Afterglow. She described it as a spontaneous acoustic moment. Around this time, Joe Jonas recently did this kind of tell-all type interview with Vulture, talking about a lot of his experiences with the Disney Channel and growing up in the limelight. He randomly threw out this fun fact that the first time he had ever tried weed was with Miley Cyrus and Demi Lovato.
He had warned me like a couple days before and said, hey, heads up. I did an interview and I talked about smoking pot with you and Miley, and I was like, we smoked pot together? Like, I don't even remember, because clearly I was chilling, okay? Like, I don't remember. And I called him, I was like, hey, and he was like so afraid to talk to me. I was like, hey. And I was like, relax, we're good. Cool. Just don't be so stupid next time.
So it really seemed like Demi was leaning entirely onto Nick, while neither like her and Nick were really seeming to have any public appearances or interactions with Joe. The two even went on to announce a co-headlining 2016 tour, Future Now, the tour. It seemed like they were attached to the hip during this time. Fans would speculate heavily during this era that they were in love with each other. I mean, they would do these like joint interviews and appearances all the time for what seemed like 2 years straight. In an interview with Billboard magazine, Demi even talked about his breakup with Olivia Culpo, saying, quote, "He's a guy in his 20s and he's famous and he likes to have a lot of fun. Listen, even when he was in a relationship, I was like, get out of that. You could fuck anybody that you want right now. So have fun and do that." That was kind of weird to me, I'm not gonna lie. Why were you so concerned about him getting out of this relationship? I kind of understood the Nemi lore because on one hand, it seems like they were kind of in love with each other when you hear these clips and see these clips of them interacting. But on the other hand, maybe it was all just platonic. I think now in current day, I do think it was a platonic friendship that maybe escalated, but we'll never know. During this time in 2016, Joe was finally hitting success away from the Jonas Brothers. He launched the group DNC and had major hits like Toothbrush and Cake by the Ocean. During this time, Demi and Joe were seen doing a few interview projects together, making it clear that everything seemed right and happy and peaceful in that universe. They were seen guest starring and coming out for each other's performances. In 2017, Demi released her album Tell Me You Love Me, which featured a song called Ruin the Friendship. This is a huge turn in this lore. Fans speculated that this new song, Ruin the Friendship, was either written about Nick or another longtime friend, Selena Gomez.
Supposedly there's a song about Nick Jonas in here.
Something that I will always keep to myself is who I write my songs about.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Probably about him, well, you're just best friends. You and Nick are friends.
Yeah.
So he plays songs for you, and you hear his songs that he writes, and you play songs for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, in an interview with Noisy at the time, Demi opened a little bit more about the song, as well as another track called Only Forever. And it's also important to note that Demi was broken up with Wilmer during this time, which he's a whole other problem that we do not have time to get into. She told Noisy, quote, "I was frustrated with a certain situation, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to write about it. And so I did. I sent the songs to that person, and that was interesting. Anytime you send a song about the person to the person, it's ballsy. It's like, hey, here's my feelings for you. They knew about my feelings, but neither of us had acknowledged them before. And then it turned out that person had written a song about me, and we exchanged songs." The following year, on July 24th, 2018, Demi was rushed to a medical center in Los Angeles following a 911 call made from her Hollywood Hills home. She was reportedly found unconscious and administered Narcan. Just hours after news broke, Joe tweeted in support of her, "Like all of you, I am thinking of Demi right now. She needs our prayers and support. We all know how strong you are, Demi. Hashtag pray for Demi." Around the same time, Nick officially started dating Priyanka Chopra, and just 2 months later, they get engaged. What's really weird about this time is that Demi had unfollowed Nick and other Jonas Brothers on Instagram months before her overdose. Later in 2019, the Jonas Brothers would announce getting back together 6 years after being broken up.
Does this mean that there's a Camp Rock 3 on the horizon?
Ooh, doubtful. I think we probably would go for more of a like a skit. We separate Jonas Brothers and stuff we did with Disney. There's a nice gap now as we're adults, and I feel like it would be a little weird to see us in a Disney movie.
In 2020, Demi was asked if she still kept in touch with the Jonas Brothers. She said, quote, "I talked to Miley. She's awesome and I love her to death and always will, always have. But I think she's kind of the only one from that era that I still stay in touch with." This year in 2025, the unthinkable happened. The Jonas Brothers and Demi reunited on stage for the Jonas Brothers Jonas 20 tour at MetLife Stadium. Joe had personally invited Demi to perform This Is Me and Wouldn't Change a Thing.
Like I said, it was so healing for me too. You know, we've been through so much together, all of us, the Jonas Brothers and I. It was really, really great to like spend time with them. It was really cool. They came to my room and they just, you know, thanked me profusely for flying across the country to perform with them. And it was really healing for us. And I loved it. You know, every second of it was so great.
So, although we'll never know exactly what happened with Demi and the Jonas Brothers, specifically around the 2018-2019 drop-off point, it's amazing to know that they are all in good terms now. Camp Rock 3 is actually in production, and although Demi will not be joining the three brothers on screen, she is listed as an executive producer. I honestly don't have super high hopes personally for this movie. I'm always very weary about these kinds of reunions on screen, especially when Demi is not going to be on screen. However, I do love that she's part of it, and I'm sad for any Jonas Brothers or Demi Lovato content that we can get. So, what do you think happened between Demi and the Jonas Brothers? What caused them to have a long 6-year gap of not really talking? I mean, it seemed like from 2019 to 2025, they didn't talk at all. And so I would really love to know what exactly happened. Personally, I feel like it had something to do with her going back into treatment, Nick and Joe both marrying. I don't know. I feel like it could be a bunch of different things, but I wonder if there's any particular tea that really came to a breaking point. I wonder if Nick and Demi were ever romantically involved. I have so many questions that I don't know if we'll ever find out, but this video was super fun to make for you guys. I really hope you enjoyed it and learned a little bit about the timeline of the Jonas Brothers and Demi Lovato. If you enjoyed what you saw today, learned a little bit, please give this video a like. Make sure to hit the subscribe button below for more pop culture and pop music content. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and I'll see you on a new video soon. Bye.